All right. Welcome to another episode of Golden Hour.
How we doing, Dave?
I'm Dave Mays, and we got
Connor McCaskill and a new special guest in making a debut in my angle camera. You have a microphone, I guess.
I don't know how to do this.
This is Malachi Salih, a.k.a. Vlog City, a.k.a. Cooler Than Us.
What's up, everybody?
No, I'm really not. I put in like 5% of the effort.
Malachi is going to be doing the camera switching for us today, so that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, this may be a thing. If Malachi's down to help us moving forward, maybe we'll do this more often, but it took us about an hour to set this up.
I'd say a little longer than that, but yeah.
About 2 hours. About 101 hours.
Yes, it's all good. It's all good. We got it to work.
But yeah, I love this format. I love podcasts that have multiple people involved and fun stuff. How do I control this dang thing?
Yeah, I was trying to get it to stop earlier, and there you go. Just hard. Today's gonna be. It's just gonna be one of those podcast days.
Yeah,
and that's okay. That's okay.
I think we're on a pretty good roll here. We're on episode 168.
I know.
We've done 168 of these.
Yeah, I can't believe I've been part of this for 168 episodes.
No, 8. We've done 8.
I
though.
know.
You and I. And now with with Malachi, sorry. Who is kind of part of the team. We've the last couple months been working on stuff together. Malachi and I work on the Soundstripe channel. Connor and Malachi also helped me with my latest upcoming video, making 100 movies in 24 hours, which was a ton of fun to make.
Yeah. Wild ride.
Still editing that. Hopefully by the time you listen to this, it'll be live, but
we shall see.
Been a heck of a ride on that. But yeah, real quick, I want to start off talking about following up on the iPhone 14.
Yeah, you shot a little something with Soundstripe with the iPhone 14 Pro. Tell me about that.
I did. While I'm talking about it, I will pull this up on Final Catch.
Nice.
Basically, we shot a commercial using the C500 Mark II, but we thought it'd be cool to, alongside that shoot with the iPhone and try all the various shooting modes on the new iPhones. That includes ProRes, Cinema mode, which is the kind of blur that you do in post, and Filmic Pro with their log.
So by adding blur and calling it cinema mode, are we confirming that blurry images makes it cinematic?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Okay, cool. So that's officially confirmed by Apple. It is now the blurriness that makes something cinematic, and that's it.
Well, that and according to Apple, the new iPhone 14 Pro cinematic mode has 24, period, breathtaking, period, frames, period, per, period, second, period.
Have your people call our people.
It says cinematic mode now shoots 4K HDR in 24 frames per second. The film industry standard. Have your people call our people. Oh, it's so pretentious.
Yeah, it's in perfect Apple style. I mean, the pretentiousness is like, that's their branding.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, there you go. Absolutely. Deserved the sad trombone.
Yeah.
I almost said trabone.
Well, ironically, the iPhone 13, which it was the first one to have this cinematic mode, only shot 1080p 30 in cinematic mode, which is kind of a hilarious.
Maybe they got enough crap for that they were like, okay, guys, here we go.
All right, we'll do less frames.
Yeah, sorry about that.
So we'll use less processing, okay?
Well, more resolution.
Yeah. So we had a cool LED wall set. If you're watching the podcast, you can see this on my timeline here. This is all the stuff that I shot on Filmic Pro with log, and you can see in the example here when I turn log on and off, there's a bit of noise in the image, but it does create kind of a nice little cinematic shot. Some of the behind the scenes footage here that we're showing actually looks pretty cool. Like, I wouldn't really think about the camera necessarily.
No.
Although the screen is doing some weird banding and some weird color blotches and stuff. This shot that we're looking at right now is how the screen looked in real life. It did have a kind of a flicker to it.
Right.
But this is on a gimbal. I had like a little iPhone gimbal. You can see the motor in the bottom right of the image there, but
you can see your finger as well over the camera in the bottom right.
Well, no, that's the motor on the gimbal. And then this was a vertical shot. So there's actually some nice dynamic range kind of going on. Although this is all with a LUT in a log image, and it looks okay. But the problem with the iPhone footage argument, in my opinion, is you can buy a cheaper camera that does actually look better.
Right.
Like you could buy a $400, Super 35 sensor camera, or even a Micro Four Thirds like Panasonic G7,
Right.
for like $300.
The classic G7.
The classic. Obviously, it doesn't have all these cool computational photography modes on it, but I was very impressed, especially with the cinematic mode stuff. So let me go into that project here. So unfortunately, in cinematic mode, we're not given any settings. I can't like lock my shutter. I can't change my white balance. I can't shoot in a log image. I don't even know if this is 10-bit, but it is 4K 24 frames.
Right.
And again, you can see some weird stuff going on with the screen in the back, some banding. I think that's just because of the bit rate and maybe some computational photography stuff going on there. So this is probably like a high weird use case, but I am really impressed with the look of cinematic mode. In fact, I was surprised to see that it seemed to be working pretty well, cutting out my subjects. With this shot in particular, there's a guy holding an old retro camera, and there's even kind of a hole in between his hand and his face.
Yeah.
And it's actually blurring that really well.
And even the hair on his arm, you can see with the light, it's like it is cutting out each individual hair and keeping that in the foreground while letting the background be the background. And
yeah, look at that.
It's achieving all this through its LiDAR sensor. So it's using depth of data along with the camera to be able to tell. It's like, okay, this is this far away, so it needs to be in focus. And that is this far away, so it needs to be a little bit blurry. And then that's really far away, so it needs to be a bit more blurry. So it has a nice roll off to it. It's not just like subject focus, Gaussian blur, everything else.
And also, I think last generation with the 13 and obviously carrying over to the 14, I think Apple has really nailed their color science really well. Like, I mean, the skin tones look great.
It does look good. Yeah.
It still has kind of this plasticky iPhone over sharpened small sensor look to it, even though it is doing a blur. Right. There's just something off about it that just gives it that iPhone aesthetic for some reason. I think it's just the HDR, the computational stuff.
It still looks iPhone-y, but it looks good too at the same time. I mean, like, it's hard to complain on with this. Yeah, I mean,
put grain on it.
Yeah, you can
kind of get away with it.
Yeah, 100%.
So pretty cool. I do like the ProRes as well, but you don't really get as many features. Like you can't really adjust anything.
Does Filmic Pro work with cinematic mode yet, or how does that?
As far as I'm aware, it does not.
It does not. Okay.
But it does work with ProRes, so you can shoot flat ProRes.
Yeah.
10-bit. So this is all ProRes.
Yeah.
Which I don't know if it's worth the size difference. Like shooting ProRes is going to fill your phone up really fast.
Right. You're going to need that 1 terabyte.
Yeah, exactly.
Real. Especially
if you want 4K. So, anyways, it's still an iPhone, and my overall takeaways are that iPhone photography, iPhone filmmaking is more and more practical as a side angle, maybe as a wide angle shot or a BTS shot, or especially if you're a YouTuber that's not in the camera gear tech space and you just need a really good camera for vlogging and for just pretty much anything. Yeah. I think a lot of YouTubers could get away with primarily using an iPhone. People who just talk at a desk or something.
Especially anyone doing vertical content. I mean, arguably, it's a better choice in camera.
Absolutely.
Than an actual camera, depending on what you're doing still. I do think there's a place for just turning your camera vertically and shooting. But, iPhone looks really good and it's really easy.
Mm-hmm. But I still think there is a lot of room to go.
Yeah, absolutely.
Getting away from the iPhone aesthetic.
Right, of course.
Which is still there. Of course. So, but... yeah, we are drinking some new coffee today.
Yeah.
It's brought to you by Hot Shot.
Hot Shot. No, drink coffee, do stuff. Hot
Shot espresso is the blend.
Is the blend, yeah. So they're saying that it's big-bodied and chocolate sweetie with a little bit of citrus, and so yeah, it's pretty good. Cheers.
Yeah, I got this from Trade Coffee Co. Not a sponsor yet.
Trade Coffee Co. Hit us up.
And they send us a bag every couple of weeks, and it's a little fruity.
Yeah,
I like it, but it's a little too, even for me, it's a little too light.
Yeah, I mean,
watery.
I feel like it's that's kind of the trend that a lot of like these prestigious coffee companies are going. It's like that lighter, fruitier, tea-esque coffee. Not my favorite.
Yeah.
But a lot of people love it, so I get why they're doing it. So, but it's still good as far as like, it'd be almost like if this was a beer and it's like slightly hoppy. It's not quite an IPA.
Yeah.
But it's, because I don't like IPAs. That's
Yeah.
why I'm making the reference. It's good.
Yeah, exactly.
What's how you really feel, Dave?
You know what I really think?
You suck.
Yeah, I just destroy my self-image. Thanks.
Rumors, camera rumors. There's always rumors. We can never get away from them.
No.
We got some new ones, starting with Canon, the R8.
Yeah, Canon R8. This is a shaky rumor at best. It's coming from mirrorlessrumors.com, so they're pretty reputable, but they're pulling it from a different source, which may not be as reputable. So, it says it's coming from a Chinese rumor website called Camera Beta.
Okay.
And they're claiming to know the specs. So take all this with a grain of salt.
Yeah, 30 megapixel sensor, Digic X processor, and specifically, this is a camera that is actually kind of the official replacement of the original R. Is what they're saying.
Is that right?
So it's kind of like a entry level, but still good, mirrorless camera.
It's like an intermediate, right?
Yeah, exactly. I think the R6 was in a lot of people's minds what the R update was, but it actually wasn't, because it had some features that the R didn't
Was
have.
the R6 supposed to be more like the what was
It's like
it called?
a 6D or
6D. That's what I was going for. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Or
Something in that vein, I would
Yeah.
say. Yeah, I don't know.
maybe it's like a
Canon's
5D, because there was a 5DR that was like a high resolution 5D.
Oh, okay.
So maybe the R5 is the 5DR and then the R6 is the 5D. I don't know. Because a lot of people switch to the R6. It's kind of, in the photography world at least, more popular than the R5 because it's cheaper.
Right, of course. And it's a solid camera for photographers.
Yeah, I just don't, I couldn't get with video for some reason.
It's a little boring.
Yeah. 5-axis image stabilization on this new R8. Full pixel dual core autofocus, of course. What is that? Dual core?
I don't know.
Dual pixel?
That's different. I wonder if that's a translation thing or if they're coming out with some newer-ish, better autofocus tech.
Yeah, I don't know.
I've never heard that. Full pixel? Interesting.
Continuous shooting at 12 frames per second. 4K recording at 30 frames per second without cropping.
Nice.
4K video at 60 with a crop.
Less nice.
Not nice. CF Express and SD
Dual slot.
So it does have IBIS, which is good. The original R did not have IBIS.
Right.
I do think Canon just needs to keep working on their IBIS. It still is a little warpy wobbly, but
I agree.
I'd rather have it than not. So that's cool.
It's a camera for sure. I mean, like, I don't know if these specs are true, but if they are, I mean, they're pretty normal. It'll be interesting to see what the price is.
Yeah, it should.
That makes up for the specs that we are reading here.
I think the R6 is 2,500. So if it's 1,999, that'd be cool. I guess.
I think I paid. I think I got my camera on sale, but I got it with the 24-70 when I got the EOS R, which this is the replacement, for $13.99.
Well, you can't even buy the R now for that little.
Yeah, it was
on sale.
It was kind of crazy with the lens too, I believe, or something.
Wow.
It was crazy.
Yeah, I bought
B&H deal.
B&H had a deal like pre-COVID. It was like $12.99 for an R.
Maybe that's what it was. Maybe I bought the lens separately.
Because I bought one as well.
Okay.
I think we both bought them at the same time.
Yeah, right in Christmas time somewhere.
That was like the best sale I've ever seen. Because like even now, if you want to buy the original R on B&H, it's $15.99.
Really?
And that's on sale.
Okay. Well, maybe then the R8 will be somewhere around $15.99.
Yeah. So cool. Not super exciting, but hey.
Yeah, it's definitely a camera.
A7R5. I think we did mention this.
We did talk about it.
Is this what you're talking about? 8K cropped.
Yeah, this
Totally
is
new
more or
autofocus.
less what I was talking about. 8K 24 cropped. Interesting. S-Cine tone, of course. It's 8 stops of IBIS, which will be. Is that new to Sony?
No, I mean, I think that's normal.
Okay.
Body looks like a mix between A7S and A7 IV. New autofocus system with AI deep learning. So that's exciting.
That'll be
sure
interesting.
It's even better. Yeah, cool. I mean,
61 megapixel sensor. I mean, it'll be a beast of a camera. It's going to probably be very photographer focused, even though they're doing the 4K 60 full readout, which is nice. But
yeah,
I don't know.
you're going to be spending a lot of money on a camera that is more suited for photographers. But if you are an R5 user and you use an R5 because it's a great hybrid, then and you're in the Sony camp, this is a better option than the A7 IV,
right?
Because it's higher megapixel and probably more pro.
I wonder how it's going to compete with the A1. That's kind of in a similar vein, I would say. 8K, larger megapixel sensor. Obviously, this one will have some sort of new autofocus, which may be better, but the autofocus in the A1 is pretty solid.
Yeah, good point.
So I don't know. I don't know how they're going to make these stand out. That'll be interesting.
Yeah, that is interesting. It's kind of the same camera.
It does feel a little bit like the same camera.
We'll have to see how they do it. It'll probably have a flip screen on it too, if
Yeah.
it's similar to the A7S. So
Absolutely. And then, of course, we were just talking about Canon. We'll talk about Canon again. The R6 Mark II is now rumored to be coming out, and we got the potential specs for that. It's looking pretty much the same as the original R6 with just a few changes.
and it even looks like the R8 that we were just reading about, except a different megapixel count.
Exactly.
It's lower megapixels at 24 megapixels in body image stabilization, 4K 30 with no crop, 4K 60 with a crop.
Yeah.
Canon Log 3, dual pixel autofocus. Nothing
card
else.
slot.
Nothing else to talk about there. But my guess is that, like, moving forward, I hope that Canon will remove the recording limit.
Yeah.
They've done it on a couple of the newer cameras, like the R7 and the R3. It'll probably have the same really good autofocus that the R3 and the R7 have, and the R6 had some bad color science on the sensor compared to the R5. It was like a more of a yellowish hue, at least according to a lot of the reviews that I saw. And so people who bought both were not pleased with intercutting between the two because they were so
Interesting.
different. If you shot all R6, then that's fine, but I would hope that this new R6 addresses that and gives
Yeah.
it a really nice image.
Not normally there's not normally a color science issue on Canon, so that's interesting. I actually didn't hear that before, but
Okay.
yeah, I didn't really look. Once I tested out the R6 and I was like, yeah, it's not for me. Then I just kind of ignored it from then on.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about a camera that was rumored but also was released today.
Yeah, it's no longer rumors. The Sony ZV-1F, $500.
You know what I'm thinking about this?
No,
We should shoot a wedding on it.
of course that's what you're thinking.
Yeah, let's talk about it. It's a $500 vlogging camera. Comes in two colors.
Right.
It's the same 20 megapixel sensor, I believe, as the ZV-1.
Right.
But the biggest difference is it comes with a 20 millimeter equivalent lens and with an f2 aperture on a 1-inch sensor.
Right.
So compare that to the ZV-1, which was 24 millimeters.
Right. Which
Having
doesn't
that extra
doesn't sound like a big difference, but honestly, it is.
for vlogging, it's a huge difference. Yeah.
Right. And I mean, that's literally, if you watch their marketing video, which is it's just a marketing video. I mean, my goodness, it is boring to watch, but it is 100% being
Keeps
advertised.
your face bright.
Yes, it keeps your face bright, and it's being advertised right to vloggers. So it is,
Natural skin tone.
yeah, it is mega boring. It doesn't shoot raw photos at all, actually, which is probably they're doing that just to keep the price down as much as possible.
And it's like an intent. I think it's probably capable of it. They're just intentionally doing it to make it, like, force it into a lower end, like, demographic.
Yeah.
The JPEGs that it takes are probably simply, for thumbnails or whatever,
Right.
So
Exactly.
the kind of downside to it, though, is the fact that it's not actually their phase detect autofocus. It's
It's
contrast
not.
based.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. But the reviews that I've seen from DP Review TV
Right.
showed that it is very good, though. Like,
Okay.
it's still very reliable, very good.
So it's not a Panasonic.
yeah,
Got it.
exactly.
Okay, cool.
It
Good.
still has a very advanced algorithm, but maybe they're saving some money by not including phase detect. Maybe that's just an expense that they discovered, like, hey, we don't need this and it still works.
Right.
And we could save the customer will save $300 by removing this feature, then it's like, well, yeah, let's do it.
It is interesting that in this advertisement, I even noticed some footage that looks really jello-y. So I wonder,
It's very jello-y.
yeah, I wonder if their active stabilization is just not as good in this camera.
It's just a really bad rolling shutter on this camera.
Is that what I'm seeing? Okay.
Yeah, look at, so this is DP Review. This is Chris Nichols and Jordan Drake, who host this channel. Both of them are friends of the show.
Yeah.
Both have been on the show if you want to listen to my interviews with each of them. But you can see as Chris is on this swing, you can see the jello in the background going on.
It's kind of interesting because in a way, I look at the footage coming off of it and I go, I think maybe the footage you got on your iPhone looked better.
Yeah,
You know,
definitely.
I mean, which kind of goes against the argument of just buy a cheap camera and it's better than your phone. I don't know, man. That's looking a little rough.
Yeah, this looks pretty bad. But yeah, look at the jello going on. I bet if he switched to 1080, it wouldn't be so bad. But you can see, like, as he's walking around here in these shots, or sliding down that little slide, like, look at all the jiggle jangle going on. So, very interesting that Sony keeps crushing it though with these little pocket cameras, and
Yeah.
nobody else seems to really be trying.
Yeah.
Canon has the G7X, which was so popular for many years.
I guess you could argue the M50, although it was a little more expensive, but it was kind of in that same vein.
But I love that they made look at all the jello in the background.
It actually looks really bad, if I'm being honest. Like, even just the detail in his face, it's like, I don't know if they crank the sharpening, and then the dynamic range seems kind of like, I guess you can see the blue sky. I don't know. It's just, there's something about the image that it kind of looks like an okay phone sensor.
Yeah, it looks worse than the ZV-1.
Right.
Which, like, if we look up their review of that,
You don't think that they ripped the sensor out of the phone that they made
could maybe,
and then
That's a
stuck
good
it
point.
and then stuck it in this camera?
Maybe.
Because that would be kind of interesting.
So yeah, like this is the same guy's vlog. Oh, that was really shaky as well.
I wonder if that was active steady off. Probably.
Yeah. Come on, guys, show me some footage here.
Let us borrow your content, guys.
So this is the original ZV-1, which you can still purchase for not much more than the new ZV-1F. The biggest difference is, of course, the lens, the phase detect, but it looks like this has more dynamic range to me. Look at that. That's a cleaner looking image.
That does look a little nicer.
You know,
It's still
still
very,
wobbly.
still very jello-y. It has the blur mode, so you can add extra blur, kind of, I guess, similar to how the iPhone's doing it.
No, it's just an aperture. It's just like, it just switches the camera into aperture priority,
Is that what's happening?
and it just opens it up.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah, it's for people who don't know anything about aperture.
Ew, I thought it was like adding in blur or something.
No, it's like basically people who turn the camera on auto mode and just film all the time in,
Right.
in automatic mode.
Got it.
It's adjusting its aperture, but it's like, I want something to look blurry. So they push the blurry button
Got
and
it.
it just goes into aperture priority.
Okay. I was like, oh, that's kind of strange.
Cranks
That makes
the
way
shutter
more
up.
sense.
Yeah. So I do think, excuse me, I think maybe getting the ZV-E10 is a better option for many people, which is a APS-C censored camera with the same kind of body style. My friend who has a YouTube channel has two of these now. It's $798 with a lens.
Okay.
So it's only, $300 more,
Right.
or $200. Well, yeah, 300 with a lens. Or if you want, you could do body only for $698, which is what, $200 more.
Right.
But you get a much larger sensor, much better image quality, and then you could put their wonderful. Sony makes a wonderful 11 millimeter 1.8.
Now,
Obviously, it's
yeah.
$500 for. That's
Yeah.
the price of the camera.
Right.
But the difference in image quality is going to be significant.
I mean, honestly, what a lot of times makes your image look good is, the camera matters, of course, but it is the lens a lot of times that makes your image look better. So the ability to switch out your lens, I think if I was picking between these two cameras, I would save a little more money, and then buy this.
Yes, totally. So, or get the ZV or the was it FX30.
The FX30, true. Yeah.
But
honestly,
that's also
way more.
way more money.
Yeah, I don't know. It's kind of an interesting camera. I mean, they are trying to break into the, it's like all the people filming on their phones. It's like, hey, instead of filming on your phone, buy this camera. It's better. But I don't know that it is, honestly.
I know, exactly. I think I would rather shoot on a phone because the dynamic range on this looks pretty trash, and the background is just wobbling all over the place.
Right.
I would not vlog with this unless it was on a gimbal, honestly. Like, it just looks so shaky.
Right. And yeah, I mean, you can even see from the shots, it's like it is 20 millimeter, but it's still not that wide.
Mm-hmm.
It would be better if it was like a 16 millimeter equivalent, I think would be have been a better option. I don't know that they could do that. It might just be like if they did it, the price would go up or the body would get larger. I don't know. But it's I don't know. It'd be interesting to see someone just take this and compare it to even the Sony phone that's out. I wonder that would be interesting. Or again, the iPhone 14 and see the difference between the two.
Yeah, so it is interesting that Sony's making these tools, and you could always just shoot a wedding on one.
That's true, and it'd be pretty cool.
Which, in fact, a lot of people haven't seen the actual wedding itself. Here it is. So, like, when you look at the footage, it's not god awful. It isn't great
for people that don't know what's happening right now because you're listening in. Dave is showing he shot a wedding on the ZV-E10s.
No, the right? ZV-1.
The ZV-1, excuse me.
Yeah.
And the point was to shoot it on kind of a crappy camera and see if you could work it out. So there's a whole YouTube video. You should go check it out. But he's showing us the actual wedding film that he gave to the bride and groom.
Mm-hmm. So obviously, the drone shots are the DJI
right.
Mini.
No, we actually took the camera and just chucked it up into the sky. Yeah, it's pretty cool, that effect. But yeah, I mean, you know what?
I did no color on this too. Like, if I graded it, I could have maybe made it look a little prettier. But
honestly, like, what's great about wedding stuff is like as long as they're in it and it's clearly visible and they're having a good time, it almost doesn't matter.
I know. And to be honest, like, it was so wonderful having the ZV-1 on the RSC. It was before the RS3 came out.
Right.
And it was such a lightweight gimbal, and the camera was obviously super lightweight. And we did trick it a little bit by putting a Black Pro Mist on it using a filter adapter.
Right.
Which gave it a nice kind of softening. But I shot all this in 1080 because I didn't have enough memory cards to shoot 4K.
Of course.
And also, I wanted to get the 60 frames per second for the slow-mo stuff.
Obviously,
and
yeah.
it doesn't do 4K 60. So yeah, I mean, would I use it actually as a wedding camera? No,
of course
definitely not. But could you? Yeah.
Yeah. That's good for, just to let people know. It's like, hey, if you're trying to get started, you don't have to buy the most expensive thing. Just kind of get whatever you can. In this case, the ZV-1. And maybe shoot some friends' weddings. Get started somewhere, or whatever you want to do.
Understanding composition and understanding camera movement. Having the gimbal really enhanced it quite a bit.
Right.
Shooting in slow-mo and slowing it down made it feel more cinematic.
Right.
Shooting 24 frames per second has a subtle cinematic feel to it. So there's a lot of tricks you can do to make things look better than it should.
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
that shot, if you told me that was shot on an A7S, I wouldn't think that it wasn't.
Yeah, sure.
It's just a wedding. Like, everything's in focus. That shot's garbage. Like, that's too dark. But anyways, yeah. So also usernames on YouTube now. Did you know about this?
The fact that you changed your names? Yes.
Well, no, but then also YouTube is now changing their model for. It's still in the process of switching over.
Okay.
But
inform me. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, so they're doing usernames now, just like Twitter or Instagram. So at whatever your name is on YouTube. So whatever your URL is, it'll just like this. Instead of D-Maze Films on my main channel, it'll actually say at D-Maze Films, all lowercase, all one word. Which means Mr. Beast's channel will become at Mr. Beast 6000 because someone else owns Mr. Beast.
No shot. That's funny. So does that mean, is that something you have to go in and claim, or it just automatically does it?
Yeah, so it automatically takes whatever your existing URL is if you have a custom one.
I think I do.
But I didn't have D-Maze Films because I recently switched it. Mine was Dave Maze 1 because some
someone else
joker
has
had
it.
Dave
Yeah,
Maze.
of course.
But yeah, you can see here on my YouTube studio, you can choose your handle, and it can be different than what you've previously done.
Okay.
But moving forward, I've decided to shorten my name down to D-Maze and to kind of make it almost like a branding thing. Because
what
there's
is the benefit? What's the benefit of this handle?
It's to it's I think mostly for shorts probably, and it
Okay.
also authenticates the user. So this could be part of the solve for all the scam accounts,
Yeah.
because right now you can create any account. I could literally use Mr. Beast logo and create a channel and call it Mr. Beast.
Yeah.
And it shows up in replies to comments as Mr. Beast.
Yeah, well, and you're not wrong, because there was I commented on some channel, and same thing happened to me, where it's like they were, someone made a profile in the image of the YouTuber I was watching. It was like, hey, you won something, come check this out. Which I was like, nah, not a chance.
Yeah.
There's even one on Dave Mays.
Yeah, that's true.
Really?
Yeah,
Oh, really?
there was actually some people that sent me an Instagram DM about it. There was like one guy that sent me a screenshot, and I think he lives in a different country, and he actually like fell for it and like sent money to this guy.
Oh man.
I didn't respond because I'm like, sorry, dude, that's your fault. Like,
don't.
do not respond to people who say send me money
Yeah.
on the internet.
Nope, they're always liars.
It's not true. So to be honest, I don't know if this guy's telling me the truth either. He could be trying to get me to give him money.
Yeah. Internet
So-
scams.
Little gear guy. That doesn't really have anything to do with what we're talking about.
Yeah,
but
it didn't at all.
I'm
But
just trying to spice it up.
Yeah. Dave has a soundboard, guys.
Yeah, exactly. So,
That's the name of the next podcast. Dave has a soundboard.
so moving forward, yeah, it's like if you recognize a channel by their username, so say at Connor McCaskill,
Right.
if you're commenting on somebody's video and it's at Connor McCaskill 1 2 3 4 5 6 7, people will be like, oh, that's
it's a
not,
pretty good indicator that it's not.
that's not Connor. Yeah.
right. Except for you, because you're Dave Mays 1.
Yeah.
So
Well, now I'm D-Maze Films, and D-Maze was taken. So,
yeah, right on. Interesting. Did you see the new MetaQuest Pro?
no, I didn't. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, the MetaQuest Pro. Facebook is now updating their Quest line. I guess it's not the Oculus anymore. They are officially calling it Meta.
Okay.
It's expensive.
Oh yeah. How much?
It's right there.
$1,500.
$1,500. So the Pro, it's actually, I don't think this is really being marketed at all to gamers. I mean,
Interesting.
it kind of could be. I think people will still buy this, but it's supposed to be. It says right here, a whole new way to work, create, and collaborate.
Interesting. Okay.
So the idea of it is, basically it's VR and mixed reality as well. So the idea is you can create in a real life space as
Okay.
well as in virtual reality.
So it's like basically like Iron Man when he has all the screens floating around.
Exactly, except you look a little dumber because you got these giant goggles on the front of your head. It's an interesting concept. I mean, also they're introducing new technology that like basically has it's not an image of your face, but it's like I guess it's using LiDAR or something to
Okay.
detect how your face is moving, so that when you have a VR version of yourself, right? So let's say we're in the VR space, instead of it just being a caricature and the mouth like kind of moves almost to how I'm talking, it's like it's expressive. So like if I raise my eyebrows, my character raises my eyebrows.
Oh,
If
wow.
I blink, the
So they're
character
tracking
blinks.
your eyes and
yeah,
your
if you
face.
smile, your character smiles. So supposedly it's doing that. And the idea, I guess, of this is for remote work, but you still want to like have in-person meetings or
Sure.
whatever. I mean, it's a curious concept. I was listening to the Joe Rogan podcast with Zuckergini, and
Is he talking about it?
he was talking about this. Apparently, Joe Rogan got to try it out. He said he was very impressed with it. It's an interesting concept. It is very expensive. I don't know how I feel about it. How do you feel about it?
I think it's like it seems like just Mark Zuckerberg's dream for some reason, because he's such an introvert, maybe, to like create this metaverse. He seems to be very obsessed with it.
Yeah.
And I hate the corporatization of it, because that makes it so lame.
Yeah, it's
Like,
true.
If Elon Musk was in charge of this, it'd be so much cooler.
Right.
You know, because he would find silly, hilarious ideas. And it wouldn't, like, it just feels kind of, like, even watching this, it just doesn't feel that appealing.
No, and that's kind of the goofy thing. I mean, essentially what you're doing if you're getting involved with this in any capacity is you're basically paying to be a part of a beta, because all this technology is new. It's being developed. So you're on the cutting edge of the technology for however lame or cool it is.
Yeah. Also, this video went live a couple days ago on Meta's actual channel. It only has 50,000 views.
Yeah, they're really trying to break into this and make it mainstream. I think they're really struggling with that.
Yeah. Gaming obviously is the biggest place where it makes the most sense, because that's the most fun and interesting thing, is to immerse yourself in a game.
Right. And I will say I have the Quest 2, and I use it occasionally for gaming, and when I play, it is fun. I'm like, oh, this is rad.
There's a fitness angle to it.
Yeah, I will. It's a workout when you do use it.
Yeah.
Like I play Beat Saber for an hour, and you'll be a little bit winded for sure.
But you're gonna get your mask all sweaty.
Yeah, you will get the mask sweaty, and then you hand it to your friend to play afterwards, and you're like, oh, gross. But it seems like they're trying to make this more for, they're trying to break into new
Meta Quest
markets.
Pro. Let's see. Yeah. I mean, yeah, what are your thoughts as an Oculus user for so long now, like seeing this new Meta Quest?
I think it's a cool idea. I think that I will not buy it.
$1,500.
It's too much money. I'll wait for whatever the Quest 3 is or whatever. And
they are building the ecosystem. So like, right now, Apple apparently is... Okay, so they're showing a video right now of like two people collaborating on a project, but they're in completely different places, and how she's like reacting and expressing.
Now
so that's cool, I guess.
the characters, the avatars, I think that that's
probably
all
animated.
That's all animated. I don't think that that's
post.
really what it looks like. I'm sure it does react in some capacity, and it's cool because they do have hand tracking even on the Quest 2, so you can control everything without a controller, and it works somewhat well. So it's cool. I think the technology is interesting. I think if you want to be on the cutting edge, it's worth checking out. But we're just not there yet.
Yeah, but Apple's apparently working on a similar thing where it's an AR VR goggle set, and this is the first thing I've seen on the market that's seems to be really high end.
Right,
blending the two AR and VR.
I will say it's probably the nicest looking headset. It looks
it's not as big.
It's the small. It's like much smaller. It's closer to just having a pair of glasses on your head.
The cool thing that Apple's going to have is not Snapdragon processor. It'll probably be like a V1.
A V1.
A VR1.
Yeah.
Or AR1.
Yeah.
The Apple A1.
Introducing Apple VR.
Yeah.
Yeah. It'll be cool. Apple will... I don't think Apple's doing VR. I think it is AR first. Mm-hmm. And then they'll mess with VR.
They've got so much LiDAR AR technology already built into apps on phones.
Right.
So, but Facebook's been doing all this great development, in the metaverse with all their apps and all and the UI and stuff. So their hardware is catching up to their software in a way, but also their software is very bare bones right now.
Yeah.
If you haven't seen Ryan Trahan's 100 Days in VR video, it's fantastic. Everybody go watch that. It's so funny. It's such a great kind of like example of how goofy and weird VR actually is currently still. But we're still super early days of this technology.
Right.
It's just like the movies, like the first movie ever was a train coming at the people, and everybody in the theater like got up and they're like,
They're like, oh my gosh, a train almost hit me.
Yeah. So I feel like we're maybe a little further down the line of that in the VR world, because VR's existed for a while now.
Right.
But you and I did the wonderful VR experience, The Void, in downtown Disney.
That was cool.
And that was actually a really great like example of what is awesome about it.
Yeah, so they were doing if you never
Wars.
saw that or never been to one, the Void was doing a Star Wars. It was Rogue One, so you were stormtroopers. You were dressed as stormtroopers infiltrating a base on Mustafar. Mm-hmm. It was really cool. Like you would, as you were walking in the lava planet, they'd blast you with heat guns so that like you felt the heat.
Yeah.
And then if you got shot, I think your vest would like vibrate a little bit so that you would feel the impact. It was a cool idea.
There was a pack that you put around your chest
Yeah.
that would vibrate, and then you had guns, and
You could interact with real things in the world.
and each other. Like I would look over, and Connor was next to me or whatever,
Right.
and I could see him as a stormtrooper.
We had a kid with us, which was
Yeah.
really funny. A young kid. He was probably like 7 or 8 or whatever.
Yeah.
So there's this really short stormtrooper running around.
Yeah, it was like
it's
they
kind
just
of adorable.
miniaturized them.
Yeah, it was awesome. But like they built a warehouse in a space, so like if there was a wall in your VR headset, it was actually a wall there. If there was a control panel, there was actually a control panel, so you could interact with things in real life. It was a neat idea. Shows the potential. There's so much potential for this. I just think, like I said, it's early.
It's
beta.
super early. And that obviously, I think this concept really like went in the can when COVID hit, because it was just
Yeah.
like, how do we put masks on people
I
over
think,
and over other than sanitizing them?
yeah, I
I
think
mean,
they're
they
just-
already did sanitize
I
them.
think
But
I think they figured it out now that COVID's
yeah.
died down and they got lots more sanitizer. So.
Yeah. I think it'll probably be kind of a roller coaster ride type thing that we'll see throughout like as this technology gets better and better, Disney World is going to implement this type of stuff all the time.
Oh yeah, I could
Because it makes the rides better.
I could see an interesting world where like competitive gaming meets like more athletic stuff. So like
Yeah.
it would be athletes in VR competing in a
Dude,
virtual game.
Oh my gosh.
That sounds pretty cool.
And then
right?
everybody in the crowd can put their headset on and see a virtual course.
Or you could be at home with your VR goggles
Sure.
and put them on, and then you're in the arena as well. So you
they're
could,
they're physically there, but then we're watching them as if we're in the audience.
And like they're competing on a a real place with real stuff that they can interact with, but at the same time, it's virtual stuff applied to it. There's potential.
Yeah, you're right. Like imagine like they're in an actual arena or
Right.
like a gym warehouse, and yeah, there's like monkey bars and all sorts of like
Whatever.
types of things, but then they put on their headset. It's like a paintball course or something.
Exactly.
And they have a
Exactly.
virtual gun, and they're doing stuff, and then they can enable different weapons and stuff themselves, and then it's the same gun, but then they're looking at it and it morphs into another gun. I mean,
Yeah.
that's gonna be so awesome.
Yeah. So again, I think like once this technology gets fully developed, I think it's going to be pretty amazing. It's just, like I said, it's cool. Like if this was cheaper, I probably would buy it just out of pure curiosity. But I got my Quest 2 for like 200 something bucks. So I'm happy.
Now's a good time. I've been wanting to get a Quest myself, so now's probably a good time to get it because it'll probably be cheaper for Christmas.
Yeah, probably. I still think that they'll probably come out with a Quest 3. So it'll be a cheaper, more consumer for, whatever. And it'll be slightly better and it'll be bulkier, not as cool or sleek as that one, but it'll be rad. So,
Well, yeah, we'll look more into that development and stay tuned. So
yeah. If you guys are going to be interested or pre-ordering the Quest 3 or whenever you listen to this, maybe you've already tried it out in the future. Crazy. Let us know what you think. I'd be curious to hear some like actual reviews from real people.
And ask us any questions that you have or concerns at ghp.fm. You can go there and send us a message.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Dave, I feel like this was a pretty solid podcast.
Yeah, what do you think, Malachi?
It was great.
We love having you here.
Listening to it live in front of a
Switching.
live studio audience of one person.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
All right, guys. Well, thank you very much.
Sorry about that. And we'll catch you guys next time.
Next week. Bye-bye.